everybody.
Hi.
That's how people start things. Hey, everybody. You know, that's what people do. Like when they do like a Facebook Live. Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
let me do it again.
Okay.
Hey, everybody.
And action.
And action.
Go.
Kristen, you know what? We have a sort of agenda. I'm throwing it out the window. Like originally we were going to have a guest. But I think there's a topic, and I don't want to approach it with any agenda right now. I really just want to talk about it because it needs to be spoken about. And, you know, with a general heading, I'm going to call it toxicity, but it's more than that. So let's start with this. Some people think they smell really good, and they're doing themselves and others harm. Would you agree with that?
100%.
Why? That doesn't make any sense at all. They smell good, but they're doing themselves and others harm.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think the challenge is that the perfume of today, the fragrance, the parfum, if you want to be French, of today is not the same as the fragrances that were around 100 years ago. It's mass-produced in a laboratory, and it's chemicals.
So you know that I have a friend who is a scientist who's done research. She did an amazing study, I think in 2011, looking at all the chemicals, not only, by the way, in the products we would think have chemicals like dryer sheets and fragrances that you'd plug in your home, but even green products, volatile organic compounds, things that go into the air and can potentially do harm or can interact with other things in the air and do harm. So I'd like to have her on the podcast. I'd like to have a doctor who works at the Environmental Health Center on the podcast. But before we get clinical, I just want to talk about real world because this just happened, which is why, you know, it's fresh in my mind, is I was sitting in our facility and sitting on my laptop, and a customer came in, and he had such, I'm going to say, a horrible cologne. Now, to him, it didn't smell horrible, and probably to his wife, it doesn't smell horrible. But to me, it smelled horrible. And it's not just that it's an offensive smell to me, but it starts to affect me neurologically. And I had to get away. Now, I hadn't spoken to you, and you came in, and then you texted me, and you said something like, oh, my God, and you opened all the doors, right?
I did.
Yeah, so we're both oddly sensitive to certain things that are toxic. But I think it's given us an awareness that most people don't have. So this is the difficult line. When we run into somebody who's wearing a fragrance that is unpleasant to us,
right?
Sometimes if we address it, they get offended.
It's a strange thing. And, you know, oftentimes I think people don't believe that it's affecting me or, you know, and for me, what will happen is my sinuses instantly inflame. Sometimes I'll start just sneezing nonstop, and then it'll go to a headache and just like whole sinuses blown up here and like massive headache. And if it's a repeat fragrance, like if I'm around that person multiple times, it just instantly goes.
Sicker quicker. You get right back to that level.
Right. And, you know, even people in my family think that I'm making it up.
Yes.
You're like, oh, you're so drama. Like, no, this isn't about drama. It's literally making me sick. And I will be as bold to say that fragrance is the new cigarettes. And people don't even realize how poisonous it is to them. At least with cigarettes, we know it's poison.
So here's why I wanted to do this today. Because I think we need to post a sign in the facility. I think we need to say this is a fragrance-free facility. Because people don't know. But at least if we have a sign, we can, because it's a difficult thing to address. Do you remember that woman came in for an interview?
Yes.
And I couldn't take it. And she was like waving her resume at me. And I said, please. I took her aside and I go, please, the fragrance that you're wearing is affecting me because I'm very sensitive to certain fragrances. So would you go home and come back tomorrow without any fragrance? And she got so defensive and she wouldn't leave and she's still waving the resume. So I think we need to be able, because it's really odd because it's this invisible thing. So you just said it. People think you're crazy. At some level, and don't take this the wrong way, I don't really believe I'm a prophet, but at some level, I feel like I'm a prophet because I've been to the top of the mountain or the bottom of the mountain, meaning I had a condition called multiple chemical sensitivity. And we know that mold is toxic. I got really sick from mold. Thankfully, I got better. But a residual secondary effect was this condition called MCS, multiple chemical sensitivity. So I want to talk about it a little bit, more than anything else, as a warm-up, so we could broach this topic scientifically and have some of these guests on, and at least people know where it's coming from, because it's really something that's very close to my life. And before I developed the condition, I probably wouldn't have believed people. I mean, they appear to be crazy when they have this condition. I know. I've met extreme cases. So I want to share some of that. And, ask me anything you want to jump in anytime you want. But what happened is when I started to get better from the mold, when I found out what was wrong with me and I started addressing it, I was going through a divorce and I was renting an apartment. And I walked into my apartment, which was beautiful and brand new, and I smelled the shower curtain. And I know people are probably rolling their eyes right now going, what do you mean you smell the shower? But I walked in downstairs and I smelled the shower curtain from the upstairs bathroom. Again, I know it sounds insane. It seemed insane to me. I'm going, what's going on here? How come the whole place smells like rubber? And I couldn't even take it. I took the whole shower curtain, I ripped it down, I crumpled it up, I stuffed it in a plastic trash bag, and I put it outside in the garbage. And that was the first episode that started to alert me that something weird is going on. And it led to a point that I was in O'Hare Airport, and a woman walked by me with such strong perfume, and I fainted. I literally walked into something, passed out, and then the little golf cart medic came by, and I woke up and there's a circle of people around me, and I said, I'm okay. But man, it was a bizarre condition. And once I started researching it, I found that there is a community, an entire community, and millions of people around the world who have this condition. But what most of them do is go into hiding. Rather than recognizing that this is a condition they can get well from, they move to Albuquerque. They live in a porcelain trailer. I'm not kidding. I've met these people. They find these places where they have safe housing. So along the way, I went to Dr. William Ray. He has since passed, but he is the revered expert in identifying multiple chemical sensitivity. He had it himself. He was a surgeon. Started developing a sensitivity to the latex gloves. That's where it started. And he had
It's funny you bring that up because I actually developed sensitivity to latex gloves in the lab, working in the lab, and I started noticing.
And you didn't have it always?
No, it developed. Yeah, and I started noticing that, I was working in the lab typically Monday through Friday, and like by Thursday or Friday, my hands were getting red bumps all over them, and then Saturday and Sunday it would clear up. So at first I was like, well, I'm allergic to work. Maybe I should stop going.
Right.
But that didn't seem realistic. So that's when I realized, I've got to switch to the nitrile gloves. And sure enough, no more problem.
Because you get triggered. There's a tipping point where you develop a reaction, and then you go one of two ways. Either you become more sensitized, or you understand the condition and you get well. So in trying to get well, I called Dr. Ray, spoke to him on the phone, and he said, come spend a few days here at the Environmental Health Center. We'll do some testing, we'll do some treatments, and we'll get you well. And, at the time I was still working out. I was really athletic. I didn't look sick, but it was really a horrible, I couldn't walk into a shopping mall or a perfume counter in a department store.
Near death.
Yeah, so people didn't understand it, but it was really hard. I'd be in a restaurant and somebody would sit down with cologne at the next table and I'd have to move.
Yep.
So he asked me, would you like to stay in our safe housing? And I said, what's that? And he goes, well, it's no chemicals. I said, yeah, sure. I'd like to stay in the safe housing. So I had an address, and I went to Dallas. I have a friend who lives in Dallas, Kelly, and she picked me up at the airport, and we had a nice lunch. I remember we went to a Mexican restaurant, and I had the hottest jalapeno I ever had in my life. And then she took me to this address, and it was a residence inn. And I'm going, this can't be right. It's the Environmental Health Center. But checked it, and sure enough, this is the address for the safe housing. So I walked into the residence inn, and I said, hey, I'm a little confused. I have a reservation with Dr. Ray, and this is the address they gave me. And she goes, what's your name? And she looks me up, and then she looks at me, and she goes, oh, they made a mistake. And I said, what's the mistake? She said, they put you in Building 7. And the way she said it was like eerie. And I said, no, I think that's where I'm supposed to be. And she said, Kelly was with me. She's like,
At building 7.
yeah.
Some red rum going on in
I
there.
go, some red rum. I asked, what is it? And she couldn't explain it. She was just giving me the under no circumstances do you want to go to building 7. So sure enough, in walks one of Dr. Ray's staff members, really nice. I can't remember her name right now, but a nurse. And she goes, oh, we've been waiting for you. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, you're in the right place. And yes, you're going to stay in building 7. It's our safe housing. So the girl behind the counter is giving me this. And then all of a sudden, the door of the office bursts open, and this really skinny guy, very, very pale, pasty white, is wearing a mask, like a protective mask, an air mask,
Okay.
And he goes, the caulk, he's screaming, the caulk. And she obviously knew him, and his name was Chase. I remember this. And she goes, don't worry, Chase, whatever it is, we'll take care of it. And he goes, they came in and they caulked the sink. I can't take it. So I realized this guy is extremely sensitive. Mm-hmm. So we started walking to building 7 together, me, Chase, the nurse, and my friend Kelly. And I walked up to Chase, put my arm around him, and I go, hey, you're going to be all right. Don't worry about it. They'll get you in another room. And he goes, oh, no, you don't understand. I go, I kind of do. I'm dealing with this too. I go, but you know what? You and me, we're going to overcome it. We're going to invite some women over here and have a perfume party. And I was just joking.
Oh, God.
And he pulled away from me, in fear. And I realized, this is not a joking matter.
No.
Yeah. So I said, Chase, I'm sorry. And then he kept his distance from me. And we come to building 7, which just looked like the Residence Inn structurally, but eyes are peering through the blinds. Seriously, you just see people peeking. And there was kind of an eerie feeling to it. And you walking by and you see people looking at you, and they're not, coming out, they're checking out who's here now. And the nurse is showing me around, and she goes, this is the laundry room. We don't use any laundry detergent. We could use baking soda and some other thing. I don't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. And there's a guy in there, and he starts backing away from me. And he looks at me, and I thought he was looking at my crotch. I mean, he's just I go, what? Is my fly open? And he goes, you're not going to use that thing, are you? And I go, and she goes, oh, your cell phone.
Oh.
He's sensitive to EMF. So, yeah, turn off your cell phone.
Yeah. And I think some people don't realize that they're sensitive to EMF. They're just getting cognitive issues, or, even as extreme as developing brain tumors. You're sensitive to the radiation in your phone. And under no circumstance should people be putting their phone next to their face. For anyone who sees me, they know that I always have a headset wrapped around my neck.
Every once in a while, you shoot me a look.
I know. When you have your phone on your face, I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. But, I think it's really important, anyone who's watching this right now, go home and start looking at the bottles in your house. Flip them over. And you are going to be shocked at the amount of toxins that are in things that are even labeled on the front, clean, organic,
natural,
or,
green.
92% from nature.
Right.
What's the other 8%? And people think that they're using something that's, healthy. The label has a tree on it. Must be good for me. It's misleading. It's lies what they put on the bottles.
See, this is the slippery slope. I think everybody really knows that. That we've heard of parabens and phthalates and all of these words that represent, toxic chemicals or potentially toxic chemicals. But people go, no, I'm fine. It's not hurting me.
Right.
We don't know if they're fine at a cellular level, and we don't know what it's doing to the other people around them. And really, there's no way to know. And it can be
subtle. Start removing all these toxins from your life and then see how you feel.
So it's easy to say. And that's why I was saying this show needs to be sort of an introduction to the topic, because we need to have scientists on.
Okay,
we need to have
here's
researchers
something
on.
simple.
Okay.
Your laundry detergent. Try cleaning with half a cup of vinegar and a teaspoon of salt. It's less expensive than laundry detergent. Yes.
Okay. I started buying 7th generation.
I like 7th
changed
generation.
Everything for me.
Yeah, I like 7th generation. It can get pricey. So if somebody's worried about a budget, vinegar and salt.
Do you
You
smell
can
like
even
vinegar?
not at all. The vinegar smell goes completely away, but because of the pH, it kills any germs, and it leaves your clothes nice and clean. And like my clothes, I work out 2-3 times a day. My clothes are not awesome by the time they hit the laundry. And it's gentler on your clothes. There's no toxins, and it's less expensive. There's zero reason not to try something like that.
Again, people just think it's weird. If they're not really aware, or if they haven't had a negative experience from it. And really, that's the hard thing. And that's why I said I feel like a prophet, because if I start preaching this, I'm the crazy guy who's telling people to wash their clothes in vinegar, right? So thankfully, I recovered. And we can talk about that in another podcast. But it really had everything to do with emotion and mindset and awareness. Honestly, it wasn't a simple fix. And glutathione and hyperbaric, like all of these things played a role. But it allowed me to have the experience and then get well. And I can now tell other people you can get well. But the challenge for some of them is they're too far gone. So when I met some of the people at the Environmental Health Center the next day, and by the way, it wasn't for me. I didn't stay there overnight. I walked in and the room just has like a bed with like a cotton thin mattress and white sheets, and there's like tin foil all over everything protecting you. And Kelly looked at me and she said, just stay at my house. And, I said, okay. But I came back the next day and I met Dr. Ray and I met some of the patients there. And I was talking to some of them and I go, well, how long have you been here? 5 years. 5 years? Are you better? No.
Time to try something new.
Yeah. But what happens is they're so fearful. Like to them, this feels safe.
Right.
And they're doing things like getting exposed to chemicals in small dosages. And they're doing yoga and they're doing infrared and they're doing things.
Sure.
But they're also developing this avoidance mindset that is, I can't ever go back to civilization.
Yeah, it's not healthy.
So when I got well, I wanted to help these people, but I realized some of them are just, I hate to say it, they're too far gone. I mean, I met a woman, she shaved her head, she pulled out her teeth, honestly, because she was sensitive. Everything was affecting her, and I tested her. She said that if I turn on the light, she will know. She can't stand a light bulb on. She had like different kinds of lights. Mm-hmm. So I said, okay, close your eyes and go in the closet. And she did. And I said, you tell me when the light is on. And sure enough, turned it on.
She knew.
It's on, it's off. It's on, it's off. And sometimes I'd like trick her, like I'd click it back down. It's on. So yeah, I mean, it's really true. But it's hard for people to believe because it's invisible. So it's a topic I think we need to explore and offer truth and offer awareness and then offer solutions. Yeah, but I just want to start with this.
For anyone who is listening right now, like some simple pointers are, just kind of look around your house. Like I said, look at the bottles, but then also think about carpet, furniture, all of these things have chemicals that are put on them. Your mattress, formaldehyde, the fire retardant that is put on, so all of these things add up. And don't you want your house to be a place where your body can recover? Because when you go out into the world, you're going to get exposed to toxins. So why not make your house as chemical free as possible?
It's not easy.
Yeah, but there's just little things you can do. Switch the laundry. Look at your shampoo. What's in it? If there's anything that says fragrance or parfum on that bottle, it has no business in your body. And I always say this too, and I got this from Michelle Parlow, and she says, well, you're putting that on your skin. Would you drink it? And they usually say, oh, God, no, I would never drink that. It would actually be safer to drink it because at least you got stomach acids breaking down some of the chemicals. You're putting it into your skin. This is a direct line into your bloodstream. Like if you want to get something into your body fast, put it on your skin. So when you're using perfume,
your patch right now?
I am.
Okay, there you
if
go.
you want to get some amazing vitamins into your body fast, put it on a transdermal patch.
Right.
But if you're going to put perfume, lotion, and this is classic. Somebody comes in smelling of something that I know is toxic, and I'm like, I can. You're wearing perfume.
They deny it.
I'm not wearing perfume. I'm like, okay, I can smell a fragrance on you. Well, all I put on was lotion. I'm like, yes, and that lotion is loaded with toxins. Or I can smell their laundry detergent. It's loaded with toxins.
Dryer sheets.
Yeah, even Tide Pods. Tide Pods Sport with Febreze. Toxins. And those clothes on you all day, absorbing into your skin. So if you feel amazing, if you're watching this right now and you're like, I feel amazing, I don't need to improve anything. Great. This isn't for you. If you're like, you know what? I could feel a little bit better. Great. Start detoxing and start with your home. I'm telling you, making these little changes is going to make you feel better.
I just want to speak from the other side of this. Everything you said makes sense. But around this time, I bought a brand new house. I told you I was going through a divorce.
Yeah.
So I bought a brand new home, new construction. But I was aware. So I didn't get carpet because carpet has formaldehyde.
Yeah.
All the furniture I bought was real wood. Yeah. So I thought I did everything right. And sure enough, I started getting sick in the house. And I had a lot of outdoor space. Like I had patios and I could open the doors in the bedroom, a lot of air circulating. But I started to learn. The cabinets were supposed to be real wood. And the doors were real wood. But the cabinets themselves were pressed wood. Yeah. And pressed wood is filled with glues and chemicals. So I started to decipher all of this. And the glue that they use for the baseboards and the paint. It's really hard to live chemical free.
And I agree. Like, I'm not encouraging anyone to start ripping their cabinets out right now. That's why I say start where you can. Start with the obvious.
Yeah.
Throw your perfume. And people say, well, but I just got a bottle of, Victoria's Secret Angel and it's expensive or whatever. I'm like, great. Give it to your enemy.
Yeah.
Like, what? Yeah, okay, drink it. I don't know. What do you want to do? You want to keep putting toxins because you spent $40? That's crazy talk. Yeah. And by the way, for anyone who's been into Biohacker's facility, we only use non-toxic to clean. So we use vinegar to clean the floors. So, for anyone who's come in, you'll notice that we don't have fragrance.
And if you ever come by and you see all the doors open and Kristen running around like propping the doors open, it's because somebody came in with fragrance.
Somebody came in with fragrance.
So let's get a sign or a couple of signs. Honestly, just so we have something to point to, because it's that uncomfortable conversation when somebody comes in and, you know what, your smell is kind of affecting me. And they go, what are you talking about? You don't like the way I smell? No, I don't. But it's not because of you. It's because of whatever chemicals are on your body. I didn't put any chemicals on my body. And it really becomes strained. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Fragrance and deodorant, not to mention
Shampoos.
aluminum.
Yeah. And when people do look at the bottles under their sink and look at their cosmetics, they won't know what these things are because they're long words that say aluminum dye something or other.
If you can't pronounce, it's probably not good for you.
Yeah. And if it says, as you said earlier, would you say 92% natural? Yeah.
8%
what is the other?
Toxic danger?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they sell like foods that say 90% organic.
Right. 10%
Poison.
chemicals.
Yeah. Only 10% of this will kill you. The rest is organic. We picked it from a tree.
Go ahead. Eat it.
So I don't want to kind of come across as the crazy maniac telling everybody to stop using their perfume. But I do think there's got to be a way that we can create awareness because thankfully I came back. And, we will in the future talk about how because it was a process and I learned a lot. But I'm still left with a sensitivity. It's not debilitating and I can handle it and I can walk away if somebody has a perfume that's really offensive to me. But for those people who are really suffering, they appear to be crazy. And many of them will live the rest of their lives in porcelain trailers or little communities or Building 7 because they don't know how to reintegrate. And they can. It's just your mindset gets so shut down that as I'm telling you this, my heart goes out to all of these people who I met. I mean, I want to help all of them. But it's almost like they could pull me back into it. That's how it feels at a certain point. I'm going, no, look, here's what I did. And no, that wouldn't work for me.
Well, the truth is my heart is going out to all the people who are using the perfumes and have no idea. Because I feel like they can be better versions of themselves if they just start eliminating some of the toxins in their life.
This is a whole other topic, but I don't know how to say this tactfully, so it's not going to sound tactful at all. But you've met crazy people in your life, right? Many of them were a whole lot of perfume and a whole lot of makeup. Now, I don't really know the correlation, but I'm telling you, sometimes I could see it coming. Yeah. Honestly, I see somebody coming.
It is a neurotoxin. It will change your brain. I mean,
Well-
I don't know how to make it more clear. If you're loading makeup on, and
But are these
people,
crazy
oh no,
people-
it's clean makeup.
Are they crazy people
There's
who got
no
sick?
such thing.
Or sick people who got crazy?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think in many cases, there's sick people who got crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You put neurotoxins on your skin, direct into your bloodstream every single day. It will affect your brain.
Another time I rented a home, and they had those plugins everywhere.
Glades.
And I went and I
Poison.
unplugged them, and I could not get rid of the smell. And no matter what I did, I mean, I put fans in there, and then I found they literally had a piece of furniture that had drawers in it, and the drawers were filled with these things because I guess they rented the house out. It was like what do you call it? Like a summer rental thing.
Yeah.
So that's what they do. I guess the people would leave and it would smell, and they would just plug these things in all over the house.
Yeah.
But those are horribly toxic.
Toxic. The candles, toxic. Throw your candles away.
You can have candles, just not the fragranced ones.
Right. Well, I mean, if you're buying stuff over at Publix, those are toxic candles.
And it's also weird that people think it smells good. So if you tell them it's offensive, they can't connect. They go, well, it smells good to me. It smells pleasant to me. You know,
Right.
I like my husband likes this perfume. Get a new husband.
Maybe. That's a different podcast.
Yeah. Then we're gonna have a lot of spin-offs off of this one. So I didn't approach this with a point today. Honestly, I approached this as I want to open the door. Like I just want to put this on the table as this is a very, very real topic. And when I was really at my sickest, it was really difficult because I would get panicky. Like if I'm in an elevator and somebody walks in with perfume, honestly, my heart would start to pound because I'd start to lose consciousness. I'm not in that place anymore, but I remember it. So I don't think I come across as crazy now in those cases. But back then I know I did. You know, I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I don't want to come across that way. I want it to come across as this is something that you and I have insight into that most people don't. And even many of the scientists who are on the cutting edge of recognizing toxicity, they're in their caves. They're not out speaking in the public, and they're not out doing seminars. So,
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that's important for people to remember, like, oh, well, if that's true, why isn't there studies or data that shows that?
there are.
Because who would pay for the studies to show that the big company who is the multi-million dollar company making the product, making something unsafe, who would pay for the study to shut them down? They're paying for studies to show how awesome they are, and then they're marketing it. And then they're, putting the ads and the labels on there that are misleading.
And there's a difference between a study being done and a study being published. So there are a whole lot of studies that nobody's ever going to see.
Exactly. And there's a lot of studies that will never be done because there's a lack of funding to prove that a multi-million dollar company is making something toxic. Who would pay for that?
So I know that some of these chemicals can lead to at least short-term neurological issues, acute neurological issues. But if you develop an extended acute issue, then it becomes chronic, right? It's harder to draw the line to cancer.
So, I mean, listen, what is cancer? Cancer is when your cells are not functioning as they should. Something has gone wrong. Your cells have gone crazy. So if you load up enough toxins, you will start to make your cells crazy. And if you're making enough cells crazy in big enough numbers over and over again, you will start to get your cells turning crazy and growing tumors. That's what cancer is. So yes, could something toxic repeatedly insulting your body lead to cancer? 100%. And that's proven.
There is a tipping point. I said that earlier. We can handle toxins. We do. But there is a tipping point, and it's different for everyone. And another issue that connects to this directly is your emotional stress level. Because when we think of, we call it the bucket. As long as the toxins are going into the bucket and draining out, you're fine. But when the bucket overflows, now it starts to affect you at a cellular level. And what else fills that bucket is emotional stress. So I have found most people who really have extreme chemical sensitivity had their own tipping point.
Right.
And I've learned to ask them, like, what happened to you that brought this on? And it's a breakup, it's a divorce, it's a death, it's the loss of a job, it's something.
Right.
So it's usually the toxins are there and they're in your body, but you're doing okay. And then there's a tipping point that sets you, or it's an exposure to something.
Right.
You know, suddenly there's a chemical spill or you're exposed to something and that triggers it.
Yep.
Or mold, which
Yes.
is what it was in my case.
Yeah. Exposure.
So
Toxic.
I have to say, I'm thankful for the experience. I'm thankful for Building 7. I'm thankful for all of it because it gave me a greater awareness. You know, I used to be a guy who just helped people get great glutes and great abs. And that was rewarding, but not as rewarding as this. Honestly, like just helping people recover and move from a place where they lose hope to a place where they regain it. You know, I just spoke to a woman just right before we did this who was just in the facility, and she was just going on and on and on about how amazing she feels. Thankfully, we hear that all the time.
I know.
The greatest challenge is knocking down the wall that people have that prevents them from at least giving it a shot. I mean, right now we're running a 7-day metabolic reboot. Man, when I say life-changing, I mean life-changing.
I know.
7 days. When people come in with these blockages, it's the same blockage that says, oh, no, I can't give up my wine. I need to have a glass of wine. Same thing as I can't give up my perfume. Like they get so locked in that they shut themselves down because of these beliefs.
Right.
Or these I am statements. They take on the identity.
Yeah, and it's, I don't feel well. I've tried everything. I can't give up wine, stop my perfume, whatever. Well, then you haven't tried everything.
Right. Nothing works is
Nothing
probably
works.
the most crippling belief that you can have.
Right.
Perhaps you just haven't found the thing that works yet.
Right.
And maybe you're standing right in front of it. Maybe you're watching a podcast right now that is the open door for you to change everything.
I'm going to give everyone a challenge who's watching this right now.
Good.
Take a picture of anything you want in your house and send it to me. I'll talk about the chemicals in the label.
That's a good idea.
Send it to me.
A product.
Any product you want. Take a picture. Ask me what I think about the chemicals in there. And for anyone who doesn't know,
Can it be the spray they spray their sneakers with?
100%. Send me everything, and that's toxic. You can throw it away. And for anyone who doesn't know, I have a bachelor's and a master's in chemical engineering. I will know about all of your chemicals in your products, so send it over.
Wish they send it.
Send it to info@biohackersfitness.com.
I would also say, let's put this up right now on the screen, right here. Send us anything.
Yeah.
I mean, anything in terms of, you know what? I get headaches every time I'm around my girlfriend's perfume or every time I get in her car. Send us those things because you can tell I'm a little tentative about this subject because I don't want it to appear off the wall.
Right.
But I'd like to hear from people so that we know what the best ways to address this topic will be in the future.
Yeah.
Because we'll get scientists and we'll get doctors, and many of them are looked at as fringe for the reason that you just said, because the big money is in the chemical companies and the products and the manufacturing. So there's a lot of the other side suppressing the truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, send us your stuff.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
We're going to change some lives with this one.
I think we always do. I think we're on a good path here.
We are.
And I'm glad we opened this door. So we'll be back to talk more about everything. But I look forward to the shows we're going to do about chemicals and toxicity, and most of all, about getting well and recovering for those who are not well right now. You know, I want to identify this market that I've learned to call the unwell. They're not sick. They're just not well.
Right.
And honestly, it's most people. It's not everybody, but it's most people. And when we meet somebody who's unwell and you say, how are you? They go, great. But when you really start to talk to them, either they're on 2 medications or they're exhausted all the time. There's always something that identifies them as not at their best. And I'm going to say we could bring them back to their best.
Yes.
So we're not talking to sick people. We're talking to regular people who are shopping in the supermarket and eating in the restaurants and taking their kids to the movies and working in the offices and being executives for companies, but they're not at their best. And we're going to change that.
Think about how good you're going to feel.
how often have we heard people say something like, I didn't know how bad I felt until I went to this program and started to feel good?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to add one more story and then we can go.
I think I know it.
Just today.
You texted me today.
A woman came in, and prior to coming to Biohackers, she had been going to every gym in town. One gym for Zumba, one gym for weight training, one gym to get electrical stimulation or, whatever, muscle stim. And she started with us in February, and she had been getting her cholesterol read and was running high, 210 every time. And she said she didn't change her diet. She didn't do anything. She just started coming to Biohackers, and she had her cholesterol read again, 145. And she dropped all those other gyms and only does us. And she said, thank you, I feel great.
And, that's we talked about this exercise addiction where people think more is better.
Yeah, she said, these were her words, I'm not doing all those crazy workouts anymore.
Between us, I don't know the number of people whose lives we changed for the better, but it's a really big number.
It is.
And I think the greatest thing anybody can do, and I'm always careful never to pitch in this podcast, but is just come to us and ask the question, what can I do to be better? Because if you come in with the guard up, I know what to do, I just don't do it.
Right.
Or I tried everything and nothing works. As soon as you say that, it's sort of like you're saying to us, don't help me because you can't.
Right.
But what if they just walked in and said, hey, Kristen, what could I do to be better? Would that be amazing?
Oh, it would be so nice. It would be so nice.
I think it begins now.
Let's
Come
go.
see us. Ask the question, what can I do to be better? Come to our door. We'll see you soon.